can write these down. Let's see if you can solve them on your own. And then pause the video, and then we'll check to see if we get the same answer. On this one, here's number 4. X squared minus 2x minus 8. Here's number 5. X squared minus 13x plus 12. Here's a number 6. X squared minus x minus 56. And here's a number 7. We'll try this one. Number 7, let's try x squared plus a 10x and then plus 12. Okay, so let's take a look at these 4 problems. If you want to try to pause your video and work through them, that's fine. We're going to work them together, and then we can check to see if you have the same answers. So the first step here, make the parenthesis spaces. So that's what I'm going to do. Parenthesis spaces. In fact, I'm going to do it on all of them because my leading coefficient is just a 1, so I know I can go straight to the parentheses. I'm going to make them right here, and I'm also going to make them over here. I'm going to put down the x's. Put down the x's. I can do that on all of them because they all happen to be x's. Okay, so now the first one, I got to come up with 2 factors and multiply to be -8 and add to be a -2. So I know that one of them is going to have to be a negative. This means the signs are going to be different, and this is going to go with the biggest digit. The greatest absolute value is going to be negative. But in this case, what are 2 numbers that multiply to be -8 and add to be 2? Well, you might think of 2 times 4, and I know that I can get a -2 out of this. But what one has to be negative if when you add them together to get a -2? Well, to add them together and to get a -2, the 4 is going to have to be negative, because 2 plus a -4 is going to be -2. And that also works out here because 4 times 2 is a -4 times 2 is a -8, or 2 times -4 is -8. So my factors here have to be a +2 and a -4, and those work out. If you were to FOIL it back through, you would get right back to that trinomial. Okay, over here, what about this one? What about 2 factors that multiply to be 12, and those same 2 numbers have to add to be -13? Can you think of any that would work? Whenever the middle number is 1 bigger than that last term, the 1's going to be involved. So if we went 1 times a 12, I know I can get a 13 out of that. Which one is going to have to be, or which ones have to be negative in order to get a positive 12 and a -13? In this case, that one's a positive. The only way for that to be positive is if the 2 signs are the same. So this is going to be a negative and a negative, because -1 plus a -12 is -13, and a -1 times a -12 is a positive 12. So -1 and -12. Those are the 2 answers. And these are 2 factors, this binomial times this binomial. Just the reverse of what we've been doing when we did the FOIL method of solving these. So now we're just working backwards. Okay, let's take a look at number 6 really quick. In this question, we got to come up with 2 numbers that multiply to be -56 and add to be -1. There is an implied 1 in front of that x. So even though it's not written, we know that they have to add to be a -1. So the factors of -56, and we know that whenever that difference has to be a 1, then the 2 numbers have to be consecutive numbers. Can you think of 2 numbers that are right after each other, just 1 apart, that would multiply to be a -56? How about 7 and 8? 7 times 8 is 56, and the difference is 1. Now, to get a -1 out of these 2, which one would have to be negative? Well, since it's a negative answer, the negative's got to go with the bigger number, so it's negative dominant here. So 7 minus 8, or 7 plus a -8, is -1. So my 2 numbers have to be a +7 and a -8. And that is how we handle those. Okay, now number 12, if we list out the factors of 12, we have 1 times 12. We use that for a 13. It could also end up being an 11, depending on where the minus is, if there is a minus. In this case, they both have to be the same digit, and they both have to be plus. We also have a 2 times 6, and we have a 3 times 4. And then that's basically all of the factors, because there's no other factors that can multiply to get 12. And so if it doesn't work, then you can just say that this is not factorable. So some questions might not be factorable, and on our homework assignment you might find some that are not factorable. So you got to check all the different possibilities of those two factors to see if you can come up with two factors and multiply to be the third term and add to be, and with the same two numbers, add to be that middle term.